Good sir, could you wait up a moment? Yes, you. Who said that? Is somebody there? Hello, adventurer. I am from the Work Smarter Not Harder Research Development Corporation, and I have some information for you that might change how you solo Wintertodt. You see, currently, players must choose between high experience rates or high reward points. But what if I told you that there's a strategy that you could implement that would give you both? There are two main approaches to completing the Wintertodt. There are the Wintertodt-specific worlds that are designated for players to go to and do it in a large group, and then there are soloing or small team Wintertodds that can be done on worlds that are unoccupied. Completing Wintertodt on the designated worlds gives players a big advantage when it comes to XP rates, but a disadvantage when it comes to reward points. Whereas soloing or small team is the exact opposite. Players have much more control and can earn a higher reward point potential, but get much lower experience rates. But can we not find a middle ground? If we play around with our strategy just a little bit, can we figure out a way to amalgamate the two? My hypothesis is that if I am soloing Wintertodt and not fletching, I think I can find a middle ground that will help me achieve similar or better experience rates when soloing, but still preserving my rewards points potential. When completing Wintertodt on the designated worlds, players can expect experience rates shown on the screen. The variation in these rates comes from the bonus received at the end of each round, which is approximately 4 to 4.5 minutes long. The bonus is 100 times your current fire-making level, so as your level increases, as you can see, so does the bonus received. For the purposes of our experiment, the bonus is a very important and significant factor because the bonus occurs every 4 to 4.5 minutes, approximately 5 minutes giving the round cooldown that occurs of approximately 1 minute. So every 5 minutes, players are receiving 100 times their fire-making level. So during the course of an hour, if your fire-making level is level 80, you are receiving 96,000 experience per hour simply in bonuses. The problem with the designated Wintertodt worlds is that they are very crowded at best, which means there are many players feeding the fire and the rounds are very short, in most cases only 4 minutes. So, first of all, it is a very uphill battle for players to achieve the minimum 500 points required to get the bonus as well as receive a crate through the reward potential. Now, getting 500 points most of the time is pretty common, however, it is still an uphill battle. You still have to be very diligent, and there's not very much room for error, and it's not very AFK. One thing about the Wintertodt designated worlds that I personally struggle with is the fact that I achieve my 500 point minimum and I'm on my way to achieving the next echelon of points. However, the round is ended. I have very little control, so at a certain point you're basically just feeding the fire for fire making experience, not for more rewards, not more potential at receiving a crate. For this reason, individuals who are specifically looking to increase their crate potential and their roles, whether you're looking for a pet, whether you're looking for a dragon axe, or whether you're just trying to get more rewards from Wintertodt because you're either an Iron Man or because you're just trying to make a little money, the time frame is not very flexible and you're not going to receive what you want. Those players typically turn to soloing. There is a significant reduction in experience, which is around 30 to 35%, but you have a lot more control over the amount of points you're receiving. When soloing, players are prioritizing points over experience per hour. So you're trying to get the maximum amount of points per hour opposed to the maximum amount of experience. In my case, at level 95 and above, I was getting around 270 to 280 experience per hour on the designated Wintertodt worlds, which fell to about 190 to 200k per hour when soloing. Along with not receiving the round ending bonus every 5 minutes, which is 100 times your fire making level, players are also spending time fletching the Burma root logs when soloing. This way they get 25 points per burn opposed to just 10 for the regular logs. Now, personally, I started soloing Wintertodt because I found it much more AFK, much less stressful, and much more manageable than the designated Wintertodt worlds. I don't have to worry about getting my 500 points per round. I also don't have to pay as much attention to my computer. I can do other things while doing it. Plus, I'm also giving myself a higher potential for things like the pet or to complete the collection log. But I'm not necessarily looking for the absolute maximum numbers of points. It would be nice to have all the things from the collection log. It's nice to have better rewards for seeds and ores and other materials. However, I am not looking to absolutely maximize the points. So, like most things, I tried to find a middle ground. Is there a way that I can increase the experience rate while still managing the points I'm receiving? The first thing that came to mind was, opposed to fletching the logs before I put them in the brazier, what if I'm only cutting them and putting them in? This means I'm going to be burning a lot more logs and my experience rates should increase. I'm not looking to maximize, rather I'm looking to optimize my time spent. For the sake of the experiment and to have a baseline to compare my new strategy with, on stream I went and did 8 rounds of designated world Wintertodds. Each round was approximately 4 to 4.5 minutes, with the occasional 5-minute round with 1 minute of cooldown in between, and we were averaging about 270 to 275k experience per hour and about 30k per round. Following that, we then found a vacant world and began to solo the Wintertodt without fletching and only feeding the logs into the brazier. Now, one thing you need to take into consideration is the time to subdue the Wintertodt to sub 20% or sub 15%, so you take much less damage. That is approximately 7 to 10 minutes long, depending on your luck and your RNG, and during that time your experience rate is somewhere between 225k to 250k, so you're not getting as much experience. So, what were our findings and what were our conclusion? Was this a viable option? First of all, on the designated worlds we averaged 270k to 275k per hour, which is really good experience. And you get a 500 point minimum in most cases, which also equals you a free roll if you get the 500. So you have 2 free rolls. In the 40 minutes that we did it and the 8 rounds, we would have had 8 crates that each had 2 rolls. So 16 rolls in total. Soloing without fletching averaged us 225k to 250k in the first 7 to 10 minutes while we subdued the Wintertodt to 20 or 15%. Then, following the initial 7 to 10 minutes, we averaged 265k to 275k. Over the course of 45 minutes, which is a comparison to the 8 rounds we did previously at the regular Wintertodt, we had 8,700 points, equaling to 18.5 rolls, which is a 12% increase in reward points. The best way to digest this information is into a pros and cons. Regular world Wintertodt versus solo without fletching. Both are very similar when it comes to experience rates. The delta is no more than 15k per hour. Although you do get the bonus from the regular world Wintertodt that is effortless, whereas you will have to actually burn those logs when doing it in the solo without fletching. When it comes to reward points, solo without fletching wins by about a 12% margin. It is much easier to control points as well in the solo without fletching than it is on the regular Wintertodt worlds. You are losing out on points. There is some inefficiency when the rounds end and you have not reached the next echelon. Although you are getting a crate every 5 minutes or so with the end of a game, and each crate comes with a free roll. That is calculated, and still solo without fletching is 12% more when it comes to reward points. Some of the cons for regular world in Wintertodt include it is very click intensive, it's supply consuming, and you do have a risk of not achieving the 500 points, whether that be because you're not necessarily paying attention or the round ends before you can get it. Sometimes this does occur. In the solo without fletching method, you have reduced supply use, requires much less attention, and you're earning XP in other skills, very critically in the construction skill. Some of the cons include the time it takes to subdue the Wintertodt 2 below 20% or 15% if you feel more comfortable. This means that you have a minimum time requirement of around 40 minutes to make this worth it, although it is recommended to complete a full game, which is around an hour, achieving 13,500 points. And one of the last things being that doing a solo without fletching is far less social. Unless you intend to do it with a small team or one of your friends, you can do this in a duo. You're not going to get the same experience rates doing that, however, because you're going to be forced to stop feeding the brazier every once in a while to let the Wintertodt regenerate. The numbers here speak for themselves. Doing a solo without fletching is going to give you very similar experience rates and slightly more reward points than doing Wintertodt on the regular worlds, with the benefit that you're going to be using far less supplies and it's going to be far less click intensive and much more AFK. With that being said, the player will need to subdue the Wintertodt, which takes approximately 7 to 10 minutes, as well as grab the concoctions to create the rejuvenation potions to heal the pyromancers. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and the best of luck on your Wintertodt adventures. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. If you liked the video, drop me a like, as well as subscribe. I'm going to link below the stream in which I referenced during the video, where these numbers and this data was collected. I'm also going to do a workshop video to summarize some of this if people have not done a solo Wintertodt, or they're not 100% sure on what I'm suggesting. I will do a short 10-minute video that will be linked in the below that is a workshop, so you can follow along to what I do and get the similar experience rates.